Over the past few days, the interview between Joe Rogan, the popular podcast host, and Dr. Zahi Hawass, the prominent Egyptian archaeologist, has made headlines and sparked widespread controversy on social media. During the episode, a heated debate erupted regarding the origins of the Egyptian pyramids, with Dr. Hawass strongly rejecting unconventional theories suggesting the presence of structures or columns beneath the pyramids, asserting that the ancient Egyptians were the true builders of these monuments. On the other hand, Joe Rogan pointed to recent discoveries using radar imaging techniques that revealed the presence of massive voids and structures beneath the Giza Plateau, supporting his theory about the existence of underground structures that may be linked to the pyramids. In this exciting video, we reveal the details of the meeting between Joe Rogan, the world's most popular podcast host, and renowned Egyptian archaeologist Dr. Zahi Hawass. The meeting witnessed a heated debate about whether there are mysterious structures and spiral shafts beneath the pyramids, which directly supports Joe Rogan's theory about the existence of an advanced civilization that preceded the ancient Egyptians. Could the pyramids be more than just cemeteries? Does the Giza Plateau hide underground secrets? Watch the video to learn about the evidence, statements, and shocking disagreement between two of the most famous figures in the world of history and archaeology. This video reveals what Zahi Hawass said about Joe Rogan's theory: radar images and reports under the pyramids, analyses about spiral shafts and buried structures. Is there an entire city beneath the pyramids? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive all the latest news about the greatest secrets of history. Researchers from Italy and Scotland say they found a huge underground city beneath the pyramids. Surrounding these spiral columns are winding tunnels that connect to giant cube-shaped structures and secret rooms. But here's the weird part. SAR Technology, which stands for synthetic aperture radar, isn't supposed to see deep underground, and Biondi, the guy behind this, knows that. So how did he manage to see what's under the pyramid? I've asked experts, and according to science, it shouldn't even be possible. If this turns out to be true, it could completely flip everything we thought we knew about the pyramids in Egypt. No team has ever scanned that area before with this kind of radar, and just because the announcement wasn't made properly doesn't mean the entire discovery is fake. What they found clearly isn't natural. But here's the big question: where's the proof? Biondi faced a huge backlash from archaeologists accusing him of making stuff up and spreading fake news. He says they found the same structure under every single pyramid. Of course, after the Great Pyramid, they moved to the Pyramid of Khafre for the next scan. On March 16, 2025, a big press conference in Italy revealed what they claimed to be 8 giant cylinder-shaped objects under the Khafre pyramid. They were arranged in 2 rows and stretched down to a depth of 648 meters. These structures linked to 2 massive cube-shaped objects, each one 80 meters wide, connected to empty chambers and long tunnels that stretched 2 kilometers under the pyramids. The media coverage lit up with debates. Some people were excited, others thought it was nonsense. So what's the truth behind this? 3 men presented at the conference: Corrado Malanga, a chemistry professor; Armando May, a journalist; and Filippo Biondi, an electrical engineer and radar specialist. Today we're focusing on Biondi because he's the main player in this whole story. Biondi started out as an electrical engineer, then got a PhD in radar systems. He's been working with radar tech for over 30 years. He used a special type of radar called SAR, which we've been hearing a lot about lately. SAR isn't a new thing. It's been around since the 60s and 70s. It's used on satellites, planes and drones to scan the surface of Earth. SAR works by sending out radio waves that bounce off objects and come back. It collects lots of low-quality images and merges them into one high-resolution image. It's useful for spotting things like deforestation, desert expansion and troop movements during war. Unlike cameras, SAR works in total darkness, and even through bad weather like clouds and storms. But there's a catch. SAR can't really go deep underground, especially when used from satellites flying 650 kilometers above Earth. So again, if that's true, and Biondi knows this, How did he see below the pyramid? Now, I personally haven't used SAR, but I've worked with a different type of radar, ground-penetrating radar, or GPR. GPR sends waves into the ground to detect empty spaces or solid objects. But we had a specialist who interpreted the signals and told us what was beneath the surface. The point is, even though radar types vary, they all work on similar principles. And Biondi didn't just rely on SAR. He used something called SR, Echographic, Tomographic, Doppler imaging. That's a fancy term that combines SAR with ultrasound imaging and a 3D technique based on the Doppler effect. Here's what that means. SAR gathers rough images and processes them to get sharper results. Ultrasound works just like a baby scan. It sends waves into the body and listens to what bounces back to make a 2D or 3D image. Tomography takes it further, building a 3D model from different angles to reveal more details. Imagine this. You have 4 metal cups. You hide some small wooden blocks under one of them. Now you want to figure out which one has the blocks without looking. So what do? You tap on each cup. The one with blocks underneath will sound different, less hollow, because the blocks stop the sound from echoing. Now, if you can't tell just by ear, you can use a mic, record the sounds, and analyze them using software like Audacity. You'll see clear differences in the frequencies, and that's kind of what Biondi did, but on a much bigger scale. So the app I used is free and has a ton of features, but honestly, you could use any similar app. I've got 4 recordings of me tapping on glasses. For each one, I select something called a plot spectrum. It helps analyze the frequency distribution in an audio file. It's super helpful for understanding different frequencies and their strength. You might be surprised by how the graph looks, but it basically shows you the frequencies that came from glass number 1. So what can we learn from this graph? Around 1700 Hz or so, the signal spikes really high. We call that the dominant frequency. That's the frequency where the sound is strongest, and it matches the natural resonance of the glass. Now, if we line up the 4 graphs next to each other, we'll see that all the glasses resonated between 1700 to 2000 Hz. But the loudness was different. In graphs 1 and 3, the signal is around -12 dB, while in graph 2 it drops to -18 dB or a bit lower. That's a noticeably weaker signal. It's like something's muffling the sound. Another thing we notice is that the echoes or reflections are less intense in graph 2. It's like something is scattering or absorbing the sound. So if we put these 2 pieces together, we'd say glass number 2 is the odd one out. There's something under it that's causing the sound to scatter and become weaker. In this case, it's wooden objects placed underneath. This is a well-known experiment. You and a friend can try it. One hides something under a glass, and the other tries to detect it using sound frequencies. This proves how certain masses or materials can change how sound behaves, and it shows how sound readings can reveal stuff you can't see with your eyes. If we want to get more details about what's underneath, we can tap on the glass from different angles and measure how fast the sound bounces back. That helps us draw a 3-dimensional shape of whatever's under it. Imagine building an app that takes these sound readings and turns them into a 3-dimensional model, kinda like tomography. That's actually how the method got its name. By the way, this technique is still used by builders today. You'll see them knock on walls to find hollow spots inside. All right, now for the final part, Doppler imaging. What's the Doppler effect? It's a physics thing we all experience every day. It's when the pitch of a sound seems to change depending on whether the source is moving toward or away from you. First discovered by Christian Doppler in the 19th century. Let's explain it with a simple experiment I did with my friend Dr. Islam El-Maghribi. We went somewhere quiet, so we wouldn't bother anyone. We did 3 tests: honking the car horn while sitting inside the car, honking while standing outside the car. One of us driving fast past the other and honking. In the first 2 cases, whether you're in the car or standing next to it, you hear the horn clearly and at a steady pitch. But in the 3rd case, when the car drives past you, that whoom sound you hear, that's the Doppler effect. Why? Because when the car comes toward you, the sound waves get compressed and reach you faster, so the pitch sounds higher. When the car moves away, the waves stretch out and the pitch drops. So even if your eyes are closed, you can tell the direction and speed of a car just from the sound. Now, why is this useful? Tons of reasons. The Doppler effect has a clear mathematical relationship between the object's speed and the frequency. Doctors use it to measure blood flow. You'll sometimes hear them say, "Go get a Doppler scan," to check how blood moves in your veins. Astronomers use it to figure out if stars are moving closer or farther from Earth. One amazing feature is that it doesn't just detect direction and speed. It also detects super tiny movements. Some modern cars use this tech too. One major safety issue is when parents forget their kids in the back seat. In hot weather, this can lead to heat stroke. Radar systems can actually detect a child's breathing, even if the child is lying down and hidden behind a seat. Unlike cameras, radar can sense movements as small as a few millimeters, and it sends an alert to the car owner or even the police. Now, let's connect all this to Philippe Biondi's research on the pyramids. At the pyramid of Khafre on the Giza Plateau, there are constant sounds from wind, people, cars driving by. These cause vibrations in the ground. Those vibrations hit deep into the earth and bounce around, creating echoes in any underground cavities or tunnels. Using the Doppler effect, scientists can detect small underground water flows or hidden chambers. These sounds bounce back to the pyramid surface. But who's monitoring them? Satellites equipped with SAR, synthetic aperture radar sensors. These move at around 7 kilometers per second and can scan the entire Giza Plateau in less than 20 seconds. The radar sends out about 2,000 pulses per second and picks up the tiniest changes in vibration. It's like creating a sound photo. Now, the radar doesn't actually look underground. It doesn't need to. The signals bounce back to it with all the info it needs. Scientists collect that data and convert it into visual models. In those images, blue usually represents solid material, while red indicates empty spaces or areas with high vibration. Using a bunch of math formulas, which Biondi explains in his studies, they process the data to figure out the size and depth of voids beneath the pyramid. Biondi even developed software that turns these radar signals into three-dimensional models. He got a patent for it in 2022. His method allows us to scan underground using satellites, and this could seriously change the way we explore ancient structures. So, when certain conditions are met, this system lets you see deep inside, like several kilometers deep. And when they applied it to Khafre's pyramid, they got some crazy results. Now, was this the first time this system was ever used on something? Or had it been tried before? Let's take a look at some of the other places they scanned before Khafre's pyramid. Back in 2016, reports started coming out saying that the Mosul Dam in Iraq was having structural issues and needed urgent maintenance. So, the Iraqi government signed a deal with an Italian company called Trevi to repair it. The company said, "All right, let's do a deep study on the dam's condition." Several organizations joined the project: NASA, the University of California, and other German and Italian centers. One of the people involved? You guessed it, Filippo Biondi, the guy behind this tech. Like I told you, he's the main character here. The study got published in Nature, and from there they kept monitoring the dam. By 2020, Biondi was leading future studies and started using his tech to track ongoing maintenance. It helped identify cracks and issues in real time so they could fix things early. In November 2020, he published a study about scanning the Morandi Bridge in Italy. Again, same technique, and he found defects. In August 2022, he used the same system on Mount Vesuvius. He scanned 3 meters deep to understand the volcano's internal structure and monitor seismic activity, potentially predicting an eruption. Now, Vesuvius is a big deal for Italy. It's a national security issue. An eruption could affect millions of people. So they couldn't afford to fake results or mess around. The study had to be accurate and peer-reviewed. He also applied the method to a physics lab in Gran Sasso, 1.4 kilometers deep into the mountain. He mapped out its shape, although that part wasn't published in a scientific journal, just on his website. But that's okay. The method itself has already been published and peer-reviewed multiple times, so the application is trusted now. So to sum it up, he studied the Mosul Dam, which is 113 meters tall, the Morandi Bridge, with a depth of 90 meters. Mount Vesuvius, scanned 3 meters deep. Gran Sasso Lab, 1.4 kilometers deep. All of those were successful, documented experiments. Now let's talk about Corrado Malanga, a chemistry professor who was super into ancient Egyptian civilization. He reached out to Biondi and convinced him to do a similar scan on Egypt's biggest monument, the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Great Pyramid has always fascinated researchers. Biondi and Malanga launched a scanning project using an Italian radar system called Cosmos SkyMed, which includes 4 satellites. Over 7 months, they did 12 scans. The radar picked up the echoes of chambers and passages. Using Doppler imaging, they could track super tiny vibrations inside the rooms and tunnels. They fed all that data into their custom software and created a 3-dimensional model of the Great Pyramid. The results showed a detailed internal map of known and unknown chambers, like the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, the Grand Gallery, the Lower Chamber, plus corridors, shafts, ventilation paths, and empty spaces. But the study didn't make headlines because, well, most of what they found had already been discovered by another group called Scan Pyramids. So people were like, what's new here? Scan Pyramids is a multinational team from Egypt, France, Japan and other countries. Back in 2017, they discovered 2 empty spaces inside the Great Pyramid using muons, cosmic particles that can pass through the pyramid and reveal hidden voids. They found a large void above the Grand Gallery and a smaller one above the main entrance. For the large one, they estimated its length was at least 30 meters. Biondi's team said it was about 23 meters. So who's right? No one's confirmed it yet. But here's what's interesting. Scan Pyramids never gave the dimensions of the smaller void. Biondi's team, in 2022, said it was 15 meters long. Then, in February 2023, they sent in a camera and found it's actually about 9 meters, so that's a 40% margin of error, but that's not surprising. The satellite was scanning from 650 meters above, so such errors are expected. The takeaway? Even with minimal cost and 0 physical access, no travel to Egypt, no permits, no equipment, this tech still managed to point out hidden spaces with impressive accuracy. The Great Pyramid study was published in Remote Sensing magazine in October 2022, so naturally the next step was to scan underneath Khafre's pyramid. By now, the team had enough experience using this new scanning tech, so they started the project. As they began, they found some mind-blowing structures, 8 massive symmetrical structures, spiral-shaped, ending in stone cubes about 80 meters wide. Below those were more cube-like structures, all in the underground heart of the Giza Plateau, stretching up to 2 kilometers beneath the pyramids. They also found repeated voids around the main chamber of Khafre's pyramid. When these results came out, the team itself was shocked. Biondi's colleague Armando asked him, "Dude, what the hell is this under the pyramid?" Biondi thought it was just noise, just interference, but then they repeated the test the next day. Same result. A third day, same thing. A week later, same. To double-check, they used 2 different satellite systems from Capella Space and Umbra Space, both American companies. For a whole year, they kept getting the same results. They ran around 200 tomographic scans. Basically, SAR radar takes images from different angles, then merges them to build a full picture. But one thing really stood out: the spiral structures. They looked bizarre. So how could they verify if they were real? They did something called calibration, comparing their scan with a known spiral structure. And the best match, St. Patrick's Well in Italy, a 53-meter deep well with a 13-meter diameter and a spiral staircase. When they scanned that, the spiral characteristics matched what they found under Khafre's pyramid. Therefore, in many subsequent interviews, in response to the criticism that these gaps are naturally made, he said, "I reject this criticism because these are not natural formations. These are right angles, repeated stone cubes, spiral structures and straight carving. This is something sculpted by humans, not nature. This is an artificial structure sculpted in the heart of the Giza Plateau." I heard months ago that something was discovered beneath the Khufu pyramid, and it would be announced during a press conference in March 2025. When it was announced, it shocked everyone who saw it, as the models were huge and the structures looked strangely different in a way not seen before. They seemed more like mechanical parts rather than rock structures. The second pyramid began to resemble a giant stone machine, literally. This led to intense criticism of the discovery, even though what was presented was just a depiction of the gaps, even if they appeared in an unusual shape. One of the problems with this discovery is that several media terms have been used in connection with the announcement, such as calling it a city beneath the pyramid or columns beneath the pyramid. These are media terms or interpretations of people. However, I focus on the term used by Biondi because he is the one behind the discovery. He used terms like structures or buildings, but they are neither columns nor cities because the pyramid is built on a plateau. It's illogical to excavate below it just to build columns for support. Why would I even dig it in the first place? The spiral shape might be a staircase like the one we saw in St. Patrick's Bay, or it could be digging lines. I have an idea of what this discovery might be, but it's still incomplete. However, it is still in the same context as the pyramid machinery that will generate energy from vibrations beneath the central pyramid and be received in the pyramid itself. The pyramid is built on tunnels, and by the way, this is not something strange or new. The step pyramid of Djoser was built above a huge tunnel, and smaller tunnels exist beneath it. The pyramid of Abu Rawash is the same, built above the Osiris shaft, which is very strange in shape. The pyramids are actually built on a network of tunnels, and we can see them with our own eyes when walking on the plateau. But all of this we were born with, so it doesn't seem strange to us anymore. We have considered the pyramid a simple structure built with simple, primitive tools. In a recent interview with Biondi, he revealed more shocking information. The 3 Giza pyramids contained beneath them sealed structures, but they only announced one of them. Of course, I agree with you that this information is mind-boggling, and you're entitled to doubt it. But could the final form look something like this? Even if there are discrepancies in the measurements or uncertainties due to satellite imaging from a height of 600 kilometers or differences in the things discovered, there is definitely something massive beneath the pyramids. If this discovery is confirmed, I would be the happiest person, because it would confirm what we have been saying all along, that the pyramids are not tombs and were never designed to be tombs in any way. Even though they were later used for burial, the Giza pyramids are part of a complete system, not individual pyramids built in isolation. Neither the mentality, nor the tools, nor the technology used in something like this is primitive in any way. Keep in mind that every time we go down approximately 20 meters, the temperature increases by 1 degree Celsius. So, we're talking about a depth of 700 meters, which means a temperature increase of at least 30 to 40 degrees Celsius compared to the surface. Add to that the high humidity due to the presence of groundwater. So what kind of tools would be required to do something like this? Whether this discovery is confirmed in the future or not, what is certain to me is that strong vibrations were happening beneath the Giza Plateau due to the water and the nature of the construction. One of the clues to this is the massive size of the stones used in the pyramids and the incredible constructions, as well as the interlocking system in the buildings on the ground designed to transfer vibrations from below to above, while ensuring the safety of the pyramids and constructions. The lower rows of Khafre's temple could have stones weighing 50 to 60 tons. The lower rows, especially after the stones of the Khufu temple, can reach up to 400 tons. Similarly, with the Pyramid of Menkore, there is no need for such weights if it's just a burial temple. These weights exist to withstand the vibrations that occur beneath the plateau itself, which is supported by massive stones, almost like an extension or foundation for the Giza Plateau, along with the pyramids. Again, this was necessary from the very first day. Water plays a key role. The subject, when first announced on March 16th, was attended by a large number of journalists and interested parties. Since there was no research paper published in conjunction with the conference, as is usually the case, This led to more speculation and confusion due to the lack of a unified source of information. This is something I criticize the team for, publishing the information in an incorrect manner, especially for such a sensitive subject. However, just because the discovery was announced incorrectly doesn't mean the entire discovery is wrong. It wasn't presented as we said because the idea had been published in 4 previous studies. Biondi said, "I am publishing the discovery as part of a new technique. However, if there is no new technology, they may not publish it. Anyone with good knowledge of SAR technology will follow the steps published earlier and arrive at the same results." He said that in a few months, a publication on the Khafre shaft would be released, which, by the way, would not have anything new compared to what was presented at the conference. Unfortunately, the discovery was met with harsh criticism from the academic archaeology community, accusing them of lying and spreading nonsense. Most of the criticisms were premature and incorrect, and unfortunately many senior professors from different disciplines fell into the trap of rushed criticism, sometimes reaching ridiculous levels. By the way, the technology doesn't require permission from the Ministry of Antiquities or for one to visit the plateau or enter Egypt at all, because the scanning is done via satellite. This technique will revolutionize future excavation methods. It operates on the Copernicus system, which is a European Union system aimed at monitoring the Earth and providing open and free data via 8 working satellites using SAR technology, available to anyone with an internet connection and a good understanding of radar systems. If you access it, you can download the data for the Giza Plateau and study it without needing any permissions. The question is often asked, okay, so if this technology is correct, why isn't it used to search for oil? Good question. Actually, Biondi offers a service on his website where companies can contact him for help in discovering oil reserves. But for this technology to be practical, it's not going to work if I just tell him, scan Egypt and the Gulf and tell me where the gas and oil are. The data coming back will be huge, and he'll have to process it for years. The best way is to focus on a specific area and study it. Keep in mind, though, that this technology isn't fully available to everyone. He's got a patent for it, so it's not like anyone can just ask for it. He wants to sell it. Back in 1912, there was a German meteorologist named Alfred Wegener who had a strange idea. He said that the continents we see today were once one piece, connected together. Over time, they started to separate and move until they reached their current positions. This was the beginning of the theory of continental drift. Part of his evidence was that the coasts of Africa and South America fit together, and that there were fossils of the same animals and plants found on both continents. He published this idea for the first time in a book called The Origin of Continents and Oceans in 1915. His theory was attacked, and people said it was strange, and he didn't explain how the continents moved. Of course, the idea was rejected, and one of its biggest critics was a British geophysicist named Sir Harold, who said that the movement of continents was physically impossible without a huge force. Then, in the 1960s, the theory of plate tectonics appeared. At that point, people started to realize that Wegener was actually right in the basics, but he just didn't have the tools to prove it at the time. This is just one example of something that wasn't published in a journal or paper, but was published in a book and attacked with people saying, "You're not qualified," because he was a meteorologist, not a geologist. Yet, his ideas were eventually proven correct. When Biondi was asked in a recent interview about how confident he was in his results, he said he's 90% sure they're correct. So, what's the golden point in this discovery? It's that in the future, anyone with a good understanding of radar and programming can replicate the experiment. Over the next few months, people will repeat the measurements and studies on Khufu, the Great Pyramid, because the method has been published. I think the discovery will be confirmed or disproven in the coming months. I really wish the Ministry of Antiquities would host Biondi and ask him to come and prove or disprove his findings, especially since the guy has published tested and well-known technology before. The Italian team is working on this. They've said they're going to scan all of Giza, including the Great Pyramid. They're going to scan Saqqara, the labyrinth in Fayum that Herodotus talked about, and they might even scan the Osirion in Abydos and possibly the Valley of the Kings. Honestly, this is a huge opportunity that we hope gets invested in. I'm not claiming that I fully understand the technology yet. There are still some mathematical details I need time to figure out. And I'm not asking you to believe it or disbelieve it. I'm saying take your time, be patient, and look for the truth. But in any case, this will be one of the most important turning points in the study of the pyramids and ancient Egyptian history. We'll see you in the next episode, God willing. If you're passionate about uncovering the latest in archaeology and the groundbreaking technologies that reveal the secrets of the past, make sure to subscribe to Pharaoh Code so you never miss out on our exclusive and exciting content. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a comment and share it with your friends to bring them along on this thrilling journey into the mysteries of ancient Egypt. We've got plenty of other fascinating videos waiting for you, so don't miss out. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you in the next episode, God willing.